There is no way that this just happened, as the Milwaukee Brewers have yet again pulled off another major win against the Toronto Blue Jays, and with Jackson Chourio's return being very evident in this game, and Abner Uribe once again shutting out the Toronto Blue Jays, top part of their order, things are looking very good in the direction for the Milwaukee Brewers. We're going to be breaking this game down, going over as well some corresponding moves that were made ahead of today's game to activate Jackson Chourio, and there's also some very sneaky moves that have been made that we're going to be talking about here and there. And also take a look ahead of tomorrow's game, final game against the series of the Blue Jays, as well as final game of the month of August. Before we do jump into this, ladies and gentlemen, if you're excited about the Milwaukee Brewers season, how it's going so far, and the recent success that this team is having against what's probably one of the best teams in the American League, be sure to hit the sub button, join us here on the channel. We know it's just over 98% of you guys have not already done so, and we know you're excited about this Brewers team, so be sure and go and do so. But let's jump straight into this video, going in to the comparison of the teams. I want to pull this up first because before we jump into the box score, this game, very back and forth. Once again, to start off with two very good pitchers, Quinn Priester holding it down, Kevin Gausman, as I mentioned in yesterday's video, a very tough matchup that he really gave the Brewers today. And apart from him, we got the Brewers going pretty hot against that Blue Jays bullpen, but once again, Kevin Gausman is a very good pitcher, and we saw that today. But when you take a look at the team comparison, there's one evident difference here, and that is the total bases, and really, really good stuff from the Milwaukee Brewers pitching staff today, as they've limited quite a few hitters, and some of the best hitters in baseball, to singles, a double here and there, a few errors, whatever is going on. They did very, very well once again in shutting down this Toronto Blue Jays offense that is pretty lethal when they're on, and this may not be the best stretch for them, but it's a very good time for this Brewers team who are able to go up against this team and show a dominant win. Now, the box score, necessarily the score itself, don't look at it and, watching this game when you're saying, yeah, it was top of 9, whatever, but that's why this is such an important win for the Milwaukee Brewers. A top of 9 win. You're coming in, Christian Yelich. You're coming in, Jackson Chourio, home run, and of course, Jackson Chourio, we're going to talk about him in a moment as well. Getting robbed of a home run in the first as well, really cool by Miles Straw, but it would have been so good first at-bat back to get a homer. But Jackson Chourio, once again, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about him in a moment, but really stepping off on the right foot in his return. But once again, the total bases here was a very good indication of the difference in hitting styles today between the Brewers and the Blue Jays, and also coming down to our box score, the hitting. Once again, everybody was getting in on this today, apart from a few people, and that don't really matter. We're going to see it. We're going to see a few games here and there where we're not seeing everybody on. But the big one here, Christian Yelich, Jackson Chourio, and Isaac Collins. The three hitters here who are 2+ hits, and of course, you see multiple other hitters here who 1 hit, 1 RBI, 1 walk. That's also matter just as much as the ones that are scoring runs. Now, with Kevin Gausman coming in here, you're seeing quite a few strikeouts, and of course, Kevin Gausman being a really good pitcher, a very good splitter. I believe he struck out 6 with the splitter, 1 with the fastball, and it just goes to show what kind of team they're going up against, where even with Kevin Gausman on the mound having 7, I would argue pretty dominant innings, you still get a very big win and yet a very big game out of this team here as well. Now, I also did, once again, want to pull up Kevin Gausman, really show 8K, so he may have actually had that 7 with the splitter and 1 with the fastball, depending on whatever happened after that. But he held the team to 4 hits with Jeff Hoffman really blowing the game wide open for this Brewers team, who's been struggling quite a bit, and I doubt we're going to see him tomorrow, regardless of what happens. So if that's the case, the Brewers are going to have to take another step up tomorrow when we're going up against the legend in Max Scherzer. And once again, we're going to talk about that here in a moment. We also get our projected pitching, but going into our pitching today, Quinn Priester, absolutely another phenomenal game out of him. 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, pretty much all singles, of course, would have gotten out of 1 inning a little bit earlier had that throwing error not been caused, which, of course, don't really matter. Shown that this team can come back from that. They held it well. Of course, George Springer did get the second on it, but they held that series kind of the error, and then they getting out of it with the also strikeout there at the end. But 3 Ks from him, 3 Ks from Kone, getting the inning, striking out the inning. And Aaron Ashby as well coming in for 1. The control seemed to be a bit better today, even though it only was 1 out. And you see Abner Uribe coming in at the bottom of 9 and absolutely shutting out the top part of this Blue Jays lineup. And I want to talk about him a little bit because he has been exceeding a whole bunch of expectations when it comes down to what the Brewers are doing right now, especially with Trevor McGill out on the IL and Abner Uribe, who seems to be, the future closer of this team, but also a very good setup guy, is really taking the reins here. And kind of going back into that as well, you take a look at where we saw, the pitching here regarding the Blue Jays. Their bullpen, not very good today. Once again, a lot of that due to Jeff Hoffman, but that's been the difference and difference maker in games like this, where you're having two starters. Once again, another rubber match today. Well, also two incredibly offensive teams coming into this game. A bullpen game like this is why the Brewers have managed to get to the point they are. This is why they've been so good, and why this is such an important set of games in a series coming into the later half of this month now, ending tomorrow, and into September. We're still going to have to continue this. But once again, as we were talking about Abner Uribe, I also did want to talk about Jackson Chourio. You saw his stats in AAA. Not very promising, but as Pat Murphy had said, I don't care what he's doing in AAA. I didn't care what he did in AAA. Getting back to the majors, having that compete level, and we saw that today. 2 hits. Would have been 3 if that first one wasn't robbed. It would have been a 2-home run game. Absolutely phenomenal return for him, and we saw what we were missing. Games like this may have gone a different way if you don't have your superstars, and although the Brewers don't have many, they have everybody stepping up when someone is out, and Jackson Chourio was a member of that today, so this was a phenomenal game from him, and I'm very happy to have him back and very happy to see that he is 100% healthy. So I want to know what you think about this game here today, how you kind of think it played out regarding the bullpen, because that's where this game really shined and fell for the Blue Jays. But we have one more game in the series, so we're going to have to touch on that here now in a moment. Before we do, these are the moves today being made, and Brandon Lockridge sent down to Nashville. Robert Gasser off the 60-day IL, also gone down to AAA Nashville, which is a very good sign for the pitching that comes to the end of the month here. Now going into September, where you're having quite a few players on the IL. So that is a very positive sign coming in here. Whether or not he will be back up at the MLB level when it does come down to the expansion of the rosters on Monday, still yet to be determined. We're going to have to see where things go from there. And once again, like I said, I'll be keeping you guys updated with all of that. But also, one final move, Oliver Dunn DFA'd, and, we're just kind of adding on the top of the moves, but also seeing potential Brandon Lockridge return, potential Robert Gasser return starting on Monday. That could be a big few options there, depending on what the Brewers' kind of plan is going forward with the IL and what not. So that's what we have in store over the next couple of days. But before we do finish this video off, heading into tomorrow, it is going to be Brandon Woodruff versus Max Scherzer. 2 veteran pitchers, 2 very good pitchers at that, and some very similar stats going down to it. And although this game, it's going to be a big kind of challenge for this Blue Jays team. We know how good they have been over this season, and a game like this, where you're up 2-0 in the series, that don't mean you're getting the win tomorrow. So this is going to be a very good game to watch. I think this will really dictate what kind of Brewers team we're going to see over the next kind of stretch of the early September. So we're going to have to keep that in mind. But ladies and gentlemen, that is all I have in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. I'm signing out, though. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.